the only way and the only key to get into that place that everything is to surrender to it. It's to surrender knowledge, is to let go of thinking that you know everything. And in that moment, you start discovering. And then you're happy. So you're not fighting, you're not struggling, and you're not wasting time trying to get something that's not meant for you. And I'll tell you something else, jealousy. Jealousy is not a bad thing if you know how to use it.
Hello, Ronny. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Long time.
Really long time. What a pleasure and honor, to meet you again. I really appreciate your time. I told you, off camera that I still take with me and read, many of the things that we spoke about. And I'm really grateful for the fact that now you're going to share some of the beauty, the wisdom that you bring into the world, because you help thousands of people, light their path, see things that they didn't see. And that's amazing. Like, you help so many people get through challenging times, not only challenging times, breakthroughs, create themselves. We'll talk more about creation. You say that it's something that is already there that we just need to uncover.
We discover creation.
What is that?
We don't create, we discover creation.
Exactly. You speak about that a lot. Your book is amazing. I loved it, and we could leave down links, that way people can also buy the book. I really recommend. But I want to just start talking, go dive deep inside, and really be there for people with all the wisdom that you have and bring through to the world. So many people talk today about consciousness, awareness. Why is it so important? And sometimes, people try to understand, is it real, or is it only all, sometimes like when there's like a hot stock in the stock market, everyone talk about it, right? Like the hot stock. So
yeah.
Is this something that is like a trend that is like, why is it so important? Or you just like, what's the meaning of awareness? Maybe also what's the difference between awareness and consciousness, and why is it so important?
Where should I begin? Well, first of all, I'm not a clever lady. I get downloads and it comes out of me. So I'm not taking credit for this. And I think that that's the crux of everything that we're talking about. The ego wants to hijack the knowledge and say it's his and it belongs to him. But what came first? And I think that we've got to understand that at least I speak a spiritual talk. So if I'm speaking spiritually, I have to include God, universe, reincarnation, and anything that goes with that. So on the level of awareness, I'm not speaking about the level that most people think about when they say awareness or consciousness, because they're talking about subconscious and conscious. I'm talking about ego and God, and there's both together work for our benefit, so that we actually understand. We just have to know what to do with it. So if we go back in time, the analogy is that there was a moment in time that when we were esoteric and we didn't have a body, we suddenly left that vessel and we became physical. And in that moment, the story goes that Eve ate the fruit of the tree. What tree? The tree of knowledge, which meant that the moment before that, there was no knowledge. We just lived in this oblivion, being one, just like a drop of water joins another drop of water, and it's one. There's no thinking there. There's no consciousness. It just is. And that oneness included the universe, God, or whatever you want to call it, that created that in the first place. We can't understand God or universe through the mind. It's impossible. I just saw this interview with Elon Musk, who says he wants to put chip in people's brains, and he wants this brain to grow so intellectually so that it can finally find out what the universe is. And I'm going to tell him that he's already failed, because there's no way that this mind, however intellectual it is going to understand what the universe is. It's beyond understanding. And because it's beyond understanding, the paradox means I have to know there's something bigger than me, just because I can't understand it. So when I wake up in the morning, something's happening me, and I cannot explain it. And because I can't explain it, it has to be bigger than me, bigger than the mind. And there is no answer in the mind. The only answer you can get is if you are joined with it through the heart. You can feel it, you can't see it, you can't understand it. Okay, that's when we become one.
I have a question on that, and I really connected to what you said, but then like all these questions came up, and
Say to yourself, where do the questions come up from, if not from the ego mind?
exactly. So like when I try, let's say what Elon Musk is trying to do, or when I think that a lot of minds together can try to understand, you know, this one, like something that is above us, is that the ego? Like the fact that I'm trying to control and understand and think that I know it all, is that the ego like working in full power?
Absolutely, because the ego mind is limited. And it can, you know, if you're looking at AI, at the artificial intelligence, it's still limited. Everybody's scared of it. But what can it not do? It can't tell you the now and the future. It's using data that it already had in the past. It can't give you the now and the future. That is something that's out of the box, out of the ego mind. Okay? God is unlimited. But the paradox is that I don't know what God knows. So in order to discover that, I have to let go of knowing so that I open
it. Just accept the fact that I don't know. Just accept the fact.
Yes, because the moment you do that, you discover. We are in discovery every day. We discover ourselves. We discover what he already knows. I say he, just for the want of using something that we can relate to, okay? But that creator knows something about me that I haven't discovered yet, okay? Why would I go to something that's limited? I want to go to him. It means, though, that I have to let go of knowing that's limiting me from allowing myself to discover. So if we go back to the original story, the moment that fruit from the knowledge tree happened, that vessel couldn't happen anymore the way it was. So it had to break and become something else. And what happened was we all separated. In that moment, we became physical. The five senses suddenly appeared, and you know, the hearing, the smell, everything. We also have a sixth sense, but we didn't know how to use it. But in that moment, there was an imprint of DNA that happened because there wasn't a DNA before. That DNA was the survivor DNA, because we became survivors the minute we left that, because before we were one, nothing to worry about. Now we're each on our own, trying to find how we're going to live in this life, okay? I need you to do something for me. I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to call it love, but it's going to be manipulated to try and get love, okay? We're in a needy era, okay? And a doctor needs a patient, a lawyer needs a client. Everything is based on need. So we're survivors. That imprint bore the ego. The ego was born in that moment, and he got into the driver's seat. And he started wanting, because the wanting comes from the ego. So where did God go? 1 minute we were one with him. Where did he disappear to?
Sounds like we fired him.
No, actually, he's under the radar. He actually is in the unseen world, the very world that created this as an idea. Okay? The ego wants to take credit for that. He says, oh, I made this. But where did you get the idea from? So it's somewhere in time and space, and God hides in your imagination. In the out of the 4% box, that's where he resides, within you, because he's the one supplying the ideas to you. And you want to understand the difference. So when you're not controlling and you're not trying to understand, an idea appears, and not from the same space that the mind, the recording machine is working. It's a different space. And what happens the minute you get an idea? Inspiration happens. You don't plan inspiration. You don't look for it. It just happens automatically as a result of a new idea. Now, if you do something effortlessly, physically, in relation to that, you pick up the phone, you make an appointment, you start moving, you start the momentum going. That's how manifestation happens. A lot of mentors are using the word manifestation, I believe, in a wrong way. They say, you want something, close your eyes, start imagining. No, that's what the ego wants. And what if God didn't want that? What if God doesn't want everybody to be a millionaire? What if in your lifeline, you're not meant to be? So you're going to be struggling every day to try and manifest something that's not in your lane. But if you let go, you will discover what's in your lane. And then at the end of the day, you are being serene and happy and flowing. And isn't that what you wanted in the first place when you were running after your tail to try and get something through the ego? So we need to understand that split that lives within us. We live duality. We live the ego, mind, and we live God. So where's my free choice? Because at the end of the day, it's what you want to feel about you. Okay, so the only way and the only key to get into that place that everything is to surrender to it. Is to surrender knowledge, is to let go of thinking that you know everything. And in that moment, you start discovering. And then you're happy. So you're not fighting, you're not struggling, and you're not wasting time trying to get something that's not meant for you. And I'll tell you something else, jealousy. Jealousy is not a bad thing if you know how to use it. You will never be jealous of somebody that has something you don't want. So if, say, somebody has a beautiful house in Russia, but you'd never wanted to go and live in Russia, you're not going to be jealous of that person. But if you wanted to live, say, in Thailand, you might be jealous of that person. So what lies under that is your desire. So it's a hint to show you that you actually have a desire. So if you use that wisely and you know it's a desire, you can leave the jealousy bit behind, which is a negative wavelength, and go for the desire. Now, if you have the desire, it was meant for you.
Wow. That's like, you know, like this whole last part about jealousy, because usually we know what we focus on the jealousy part is like this really bad thing. And I you know, as you said, I don't think it's something good or bad. Also, you talk about that, what is good and bad, but the whole jealousy part usually is like, okay, jealousy, you know, cross it off. And now you're saying, no, jealousy, you said so many things that I could have, you know, it was amazing.
Yeah, because you can get stuck there. You can get stuck there. The
amazing part, Ronny, that you just now said, that jealousy, don't cross it off. First, understand that if we're jealous for someone, like you said, maybe in Russia I don't want, but in Thailand I do, that means that that's a desire that I have. That's something that does that mean that, is that something that also meant to be mine? Because you said,
yes, because it came to you. It's not that necessarily that Thailand was meant for you. It's the desire of the inspiration that lies under the jealousy that you want. You want to feel something that you're inspired by that person.
Right, but how do I know what's mine? Because you said before that I need to surrender and let go. So let's say now, okay, if I want to make this practical, I'm surrendering, letting go, even though it's the opposite. I would think that I need to know in order to get someplace, but you're saying, okay, I'm accepting that, surrender, let go. And now this jealousy comes towards someone. And is that, like, how do I know what exactly over there belongs to me? What does God want for me in that?
Okay, so this is interesting. When you let go, everything meant for you starts appearing. So if jealousy shows up, it's bringing with it a hint of your desire. Okay? But that's coming from a different space. So the ego would call it jealousy, and on the spiritual side, we'll call it desire. We want to be able to use the ego as a friend, not as an enemy, because everything you resist persists and everything you accept dissipates. So if you're looking at the ego and you're using, you know, we have a terminology in the Bible that says ezel kenegdecha, which means there are a lot of characters that come into your life. You come into this world and you're going to meet people who are cheerleaders. You're going to meet people who are going to try and run you over, and some will stick a knife in you. And at the end, you're going to turn around, bow down, and say thank you to each of them for showing you who you are and who you want to be. Because everybody comes to you for you, okay? But you just have to know which glasses to put on. So if you're busy, stuck in resentment, in anger and all that, you're going to miss it. But if you say, why is that showing up in my life? Hang on, what does it want to show me about me? Oh, so it first wants to show me I can be jealous, but it also wants to show me I have a desire. And it also wants to show me that the trait that I don't like in the other person, I hold within me. And as long as I don't cleanse it within me, that person is in prison with me. He can't change his ways with me because I'm not changing mine. And I have a need for him to mirror me. So I stick him in a place that he can't let go of because of me, because I'm not cleansing that. Okay, so I have to be in the space that I understand that everything that's showing up is showing up for my benefit to improve me spiritually. We're on a spiritual path. So on the mundane level, you will say, so he's a professor and he's an artist and he's a that and she's a that, but their lesson isn't about being a professor. Their lesson is a spiritual path, and they're going to use what we call props. They're going to use the nurses and whatever it is that around the surroundings as their workshop to improve their spiritual path. Okay, because that's the lesson we've come to learn. Well, we're going to use it through the things that we enjoy. So God's going to give you a gift. He's going to say, I'm going to give you the gift of drawing or something, because I want you to enjoy yourself while you're working or while whatever you're doing. But I want you to understand that everything is going to be a reflection of you. And what we really, really have to get, that in this era, it does not resemble any other era. This era is a cleansing era. That's all. We each have to accept that we're on a path. We don't know what the result is yet. We're on a path. And we've got to accept that we're in it. We're in the path at the moment. We're in the process. And we're looking, look at our country. Look what's happening right now. This is the Tower of Babel. Babel in Hebrew means bilbul. It means confusion. When the truth looks like the lie and the lie looks like the truth, and everybody's getting confused, and you see everybody out screaming, but yet they use words like oneness, and in Hebrew we say achdut, oneness, and unconditional love and all that. But they still come to the protests with their own personal survival agenda. Okay, and until everybody crosses up to one agenda, until everybody understands nobody has to fight for their rights, because we're the human race. We're not a black race, we're not a Jewish race, we're not a Christian race, we're one human race. That will be the moment that the tower falls down. We're not there yet, we're watching it. And everything that you're seeing on the macro represents the micro. We have our own little inner discussion, which is in relation to what we're watching, because it's all meant for us and our spiritual journey. So we have to know how to use it so that we can improve ourselves. I can't be a light if I'm not a light. I can't shine the light on you unless I'm the light myself. So, mentors, especially mentors and teachers, have to first be the light. And they're doing the work just as much as the students. You can't not, So when I'm listening to this download, there's a Ronny here on her spiritual path. And I'm also fine-tuning and understanding and what am I watching and fixing it and so on. If I'm not being the example, I can't show you that it works. It has to happen to me first, right? Sure. So we're all in this together. On the macro, on the micro, we have to come together and understand that we're all on one journey to get back to the oneness, only this time through choice, not because it was done to us, but because we made the choice to do it. And the only way to do that is to get rid of the ego. And you might say, some people say we're being prepared for the fifth dimension, but that we're on the third dimension. And you'd say, okay, so where did the fourth go? Right. The fourth dimension is death. It could be a physical death, or it could be killing the ego while alive, but it's the death of the ego.
And that comes by surrendering?
That comes by being under the radar of that DNA blueprint. It comes from crossing over, and you cross over when you relinquish your need to know. You cross over, and then you're changing the DNA.
Wow. You're saying like letting go of the need to know. And this is like, I understand what you're saying, but it's like kind of exactly the opposite. Like we're in the generation of so much knowledge, what a kid knows today when he's 10 years old is more than what someone knew when he was 100 years ago, even less. So it's interesting that you're saying actually like all of the knowledge that we think that we know everything, and like that we're in the top and everything is in our control, that's exactly what we need to release. And that's really
interesting. You're talking about two different not knowings. There's a knowingness and there's knowledge.
Yeah, but out of knowledge, many people try to come to knowingness inside. And you're saying that the mind is not, that it's not, it doesn't work through there. And
the mind won't let you go to the knowingness. There's no way.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Looking forward. I hope you enjoyed the video and you got some tools to overcome your challenges and light your path. For us to help other people, please press that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget that the most amazing things in life are the one you take for granted.